This is Jonathan Agger, 5th Pro Boxing Fans. I'm joined by trainer and manager Dave Coldwell. Here in Manchester, the rematch goes down Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora 2 on December 18th. Dave, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. How are you?
Not bad, thanks. Always a lively presser when Derek's about.
Yeah, you never know what shit he's going to tell you, do you? But he was on form today. He said some very heartfelt things, then he dropped a few pieces of shit in as well, so to blend it up, you know.
How did the partnership sort of come back again? You've obviously worked together before.
Well, I'd said to him, listen, the only reason why we split in first place was because I wouldn't go to London. He wanted me to train in London, and I wouldn't do it. I've got my own gym, I've got my family, so there was no way I was going to do it. And we got talking, and he basically wanted me to go to London again. I said, look, I mean, same situation as what I was before. That's never going to change. I said, if you're serious about it, if you want to work with me, come back up to my gym, let's do it properly. You've got one more crack at this. Let's do it for, put everything into it. And so we did. 2 days later, it was up at my gym. And that's how it worked out.
Has it been any different from the time before?
Yes. Yeah,
always.
Better. I mean, it wasn't hard work last time, but the results have come quicker than what I want him to do. So we're in a really good spot. I'm enjoying working with him. Also, what's different is, whereas last time he'd do his session and then go, now he's hanging around, he's watching the other boys spar, he's watching the other boys train, or if he knows that somebody's sparring before him, he'll come in earlier. He's around the gym a lot more than just having it as a basic trainer.
What role does he have in the gym outside of just being a fighter? You have a lot of young talent coming through. Is he a bit, not a father figure, but a mentor?
But he speaks to him, and he's got a wealth of experience, and he's not being selfish with it. You know, he's talking just about situations, about what he's been through, what his thoughts are. Sometimes comes out with shit, like as you do, but and he's a great character. We have a good laugh. Yeah. And that's the thing about him is you can give it him back. So it's not one of those where when Derek says something, you've just got to laugh. No, you just tell him, put him straight back in his box, and just have a bit of a laugh. So he's good banter with the lads, and it's a really nice dynamic.
Before we get on to the fight itself, I saw you and Andy Lee talking to each other. You've known each other a while. I didn't realise you were in his corner for a few of his fights. What's it like from a trainer's perspective going up against a fellow coach, and especially someone you know?
You know that when you go in with somebody that's got the experience and the boxing brain of Andy Lee, you know the fight that he's working with is going to be improved. That goes without saying. If the fighter listens, he's going to be improved. So you prepare, and you have to make your fighter understand that he's not going in with the same animal. He's going with a better version. And as far as like going up against him as such, we got on really well. Do you know what I mean? We got on really well. There's no niggles, there's no like, I want to put one over on it. It's not about that. It's about the fighters. It just so happens that like we know each other. We'll always talk, Derek, I'll come away from enemy. No, it's not about that. So.
Is it like football when you're friends with the opposition outside of the 90 minutes, and then in this case the 36 minutes?
During that fight, I want Andy to lose. but when he's got a fighter against somebody else that's nothing to do with me, then I wish him all the best, and I want him to win, obviously.
From the first fight, what does Derek have to do? He said in the sort of press conference,
it has to be better. There are punches that he landed, that Joseph landed on Derek, that he can't afford to let him land this time around, because he will deliver them better this time around. He will have more leverage on the shots. He will deliver them better technically, which will mean they'll be more powerful, which will mean they'll be faster, which will mean that they'll create more damage. So Derek's got to stop that from happening. But also, Derek's got to deliver his punches in a better way. There are things that he's got to do better. There's There's a lot of subtle differences that both fighters have got to make in that fight. You know, he was very negative in that first fight. He won't be that negative this time around. You hear Andy talking about his mindset and how his mind is changing every day.
It's me watching it, I kind of saw it as a fight of two halves. Derek was dominant in the first and Joseph came on a lot better in the second. Is that second half of the fight crucial going into this rematch?
Every round is crucial in this rematch because this fight could end at any time. You can't just bank on the second half. You've got to prepare for the second half, yes, but every round has got to be, it's crucial towards this fight, you know. He's, like I said, Parker's going to be the best Parker that you've ever seen. I believe that. I fully believe that because of the man that he's working with, and because I think that his mentality meshes really well with him, and he'll have full trust in him, and it'll just evolve.
And excited to be in front of a big crowd again?
That's a massive thing. That is. I meant what I said when I was up there. If you watch that fight, right? Actually, a lot of these fights that you're watching in heavyweight division now, forget Fury and Wilder, that was a one-off. But a lot of these fights where people are oozing ahs and excited about them, right? If you take away the crowd, you watch them, they get a bit tedious, right? The crowd, the atmosphere, everything, it plays all part of the boxing spectacle. You know, boxing without a crowd is quite trash. It's very, very hard to get excited about it. Do you know what I mean? Even in great fights, you look at it, it's like, yeah, it's great, but when you're going yourself, but there's only like 50 people in there, you're kind of like muffled because you can't relax yourself because you feel like you're too loud, and it just kills the atmosphere. And in that fight wasn't a bad fight. It wasn't one of the all-time greats, but it wasn't a bad fight. You know, there were some big shots going in from both fighters, but you didn't really appreciate that, you know, because there's no reaction to it, you know. And if a shot lands on one of the, a heavy shot lands on it and they don't react, they don't wobble or anything like that, you just think it's just another shot, you know, without the atmosphere, without. It's just, there's, you know, like I said, it wasn't as bad a fight as what I've seen people moaning and bitching about. We don't want to see the rematch. Why not? It was actually a good fight. You know, this one will be better. This one will be better because he'll be better and Derek will be better. So this one will be better.
Someone everyone's excited to see back out, Lerrone Richards against Carlos Gongora, IBO title on the line. How does Lerrone get even better from the last display? That was the 12-round shot.
I promise you, him now, in comparison to what it was last time, is a different fighter. I'm telling you. Up to that fight, he had many bollockings in gym, right? Because he weren't quite doing what I wanted him to do. And on fight night, he put it together. But then the understanding that he's got now after that fight, pennies dropped. He's improving. Mate, he's good. He ain't good, he's brilliant. He's very, very good. Honestly, this fight, he goes out there and expresses himself, and this is all I want him to do. Just express yourself, mate. If he goes out there and expresses himself, he's going to be a star after this fight. He's brilliant. He really is. Technically, skill for skill, he's right up there.
When you look at the rankings, not obviously going to say fight Canelo next, but he is climbing at a good rate.
You beat Gongora, you're right up there, and then you can call out your plants and your people like that. Do you know what I mean? Not quite Canelo, but you can call out people that are in that little bracket, you know, and that's what we will do. But it's a real fight. It's a really hard fight. It's a really dangerous fight because Gongora can punch, he can box, he's tough, you know. It's a good fight.
Do just want to touch on the weekend. Canelo Alvarez, undisputed super middleweight champion, beating Caleb Plant. What did you make of the fight, Dave?
I don't think I saw it the same way as quite a lot of people. I didn't feel as though that Canelo was getting the credit for the body punches he was landing. I thought that was a systematic beatdown. I thought that he was following his plan of what he wanted to do, which was soften him up, weaken him out, and then the hook that landed at the end wasn't one of his most devastating left hooks that he's landed, that he's thrown, but the body was that weakened from all the body shots that the resistance wasn't the same, and that's why when he went big time. It reminded me of the Cobbler fight, you where it looks like he's getting beat here. So, is it? People are looking at it in a certain way. But I thought Plant was trying to nick it, and I actually expected more from Plant, more belief in his own punches. But yeah, I just thought he was trying to nick it, and in the meantime, Canelo was just sapping him of energy, and then finished him off.
You've spoken to me, well, we spoke after the Billy Joe Saunders fight, and you said potentially down the line Artur Beterbiev as potential opponent.
That's what I want to see next. I'd love to see that next.
It's realistic?
Yeah, because it's unified division. Is he going to hang around and just keep defending it? I don't know. But surely he must think, I could step up and I could take on someone like Beterbiev. And if he does, that's a 50-50. Because he's a monster and he can really, really punch. But he can get hurt. And it's like, can Canelo really chin him? Can he stop him? I don't know, it's a good fight, isn't it?
One fight we expect to be called at the WBC convention, Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. Obviously hasn't happened yet, but what do you make of that fight if it happens?
Good fight. Listen, Dillian is going to go out there and gunsling. How's Fury going to approach it? I don't know. If Fury has the attitude of gunslinging with him, whoa, we're in for a right fight. We really are. So that's a fight that I'd like to see. I'd love to see it. And do you know what? I just want Dillian to get a world title shot. Don't particularly care who it's against. I just want him to get a world title shot. I think he deserves a world title shot. I think he's been consistently over the last few years, one of the most. If he's not, he should be one of the most respected fighters on the planet, because he will keep taking real fights.
Recent weeks we've seen Anthony Joshua head stateside, met with a number of different coaches, since confirmed he's going to stay with Rob McCracken, might add another American coach. What do you make of him, gaining the knowledge in America with these different coaches?
If it gels with, if he's keeping Rob McCracken, if he's adding somebody else, it's got to gel with Rob McCracken. You've got to have, if you don't gel it, it's not going to work. You can't have the head coach not happy with what's going off and being deflated and one version of how you should box is in one ear and another version how you should box in the other ear, because that's confusing. And then you go out on fight night and you're like, do I go, don't I? Do I go, don't I? And that shit don't work for me. But if they gel, and if they've both got the same mentality, both got the same ideas.
Yeah, I should add, he hasn't decided fully about if he's going to add an American trainer, but yeah, we'll see. Looking at Oleksandr Usyk, how difficult is he to beat even in a rematch? Or do you think AJ has the exact tools?
Really? It's very difficult. But is he impossible to beat? No. AJ's got to at least go out there and use his attributes. And if he gets beat, he can turn around and say, I did everything I could to win that fight. Not fucking try and match Usyk and put all your cards into Usyk's hands and then still try and beat him. And then come away thinking, I should have done this, I should have done that. That's the worst thing. Derek touched on something about regret there, right? You can't have regrets. Listen, Tony Bellew went in against Usyk, did everything he could in that fight. Didn't win. Come away, is he gutted he didn't win? Of course. But has he got regrets thinking, I should have done this, I should have done that, because that shit plays with your mind. No, he ain't got no regrets. Did his best, came up short. That's it. At the highest, at the absolute pinnacle of the sport. And if AJ goes in there, using his attributes, does his absolute best, tries to smash him up to the body, uses his strength, his size, his reach, tries to be a bit clever as he comes in, because he can't go in like an idiot, like a Marco Huck, because he'll just pick you off. If he goes in there and does the absolute best that he can with the attributes that he's got, and loses, then he can just say, do you know what, fair enough. Anyone wants to slag him off and this, just say, up yours, did my best, come do it, at the highest absolute pinnacle of the sport.
I think Usyk would be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or aggressive, or
Yes, but still in a calculated way. Still in a calculated way. And I think Usyk will be. I think he'll be better.
and just lastly, a couple of updates on Jordan Gill, Hopey Price.
There's about to be an announcement at any time now on Jordan Gill's next fight.
Okay.
Very excited. It's a very good fight for him at the level that I want it to be at right now, and then we move on. Hope Price I'm gutted for. He's supposed to be fighting on Saturday. He's got tonsillitis. Rang me up on Sunday. He's got tonsillitis, which we were always chasing with that date because that was the only option for us to box this year. He just had a chest infection, and then we had 4 weeks to train. So that was a week ticking over, 3 weeks of proper training, 2 weeks of sparring. And on the last spar, it must have just knocked the shit out of him because the day after, not the day after, 2 days after the last spar, which was a Sunday, I'm outside at football pitch and I get a phone call. It says Hopey. That's the only reason why I knew it was Hopey, because when I answered it, this sounds like this rough, like you'd had 60 fags or something like that. Just this really husky voice talking to me on the phone. And I was like, whoa. And then he went to the doctors on Monday. He's got tonsillitis. So, again, to fit him on before the end of the year would be a rush because I think he's got a week's worth of antibiotics. So just say he came in back into tick over next week. Next week's a tick over. You're playing catch up again, and it's just no good. So we're gonna hopefully start from fresh next year.
And one very, very last one, just before I forget. The world is talking about this big fight December 18th in Tampa, same night as you, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. What do you make of that?
I know what you're on about. Really?
What do you make of it? Have you seen any of them?
I've seen Tommy Fury, good little prospect coming through. He's very, very limited career, amateur career, and like what is it? How many fights has he had as a pro?
I believe he's 7-0.
7-0. So he's just learning the game. He's very, very young, learning the game alongside all the publicity and fame that he got from TV, and also having that surname. There's a lot of pressure on the kid. Jake Paul, is he the one that boxed Mayweather? Those brothers?
No, that was his brother.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Jake Paul the better one?
I would say so, yeah.
Right. Okay. So the one that again I don't. It's not. I'm not being ignorant, but I'm busy with my own fighters and I'm busy watching like all the fighters that I can take things from. Jake Paul's doing a great job marketing himself and the other brother. Well, I get what they're doing. They're making shitloads of money off their fan base and things like that. I understand why they're doing it. Them two want to fight because they've created a lot of beef. Great. Am I asked about it? Not really, but I would love to see Tommy Fury win the fight because Tommy Fury is trying to be a real boxer and he wants to be a real boxer. So Jake Paul and his brother, I think it's a bit of a in the moment thing to cash in on what the fame and publicity that can while it lasts. They're not fighting real fighters as such. I think they fought American footballers or basketballers and stuff like that. So they're not fighting anybody real. Tommy Fury's at least fighting professional boxers. I know they've not had great records, but that's what you do with normal kids that have got no experience. You build them up on journeyman until they're ready to start fighting, more like club fighters that win some, lose some, and then you step them up again. That's how you do it. It's a natural process. So I get what they're doing with Tommy. Jake is fighting whatever he wants because he knows he can sell, and yet they're claiming that they'll be able to beat this guy and that guy. That's the other thing that pisses me off about him, is that I get if they're fighting people like for like, it's not a problem, but if you're fighting guys that aren't even boxers and you're saying you beat Canelo, you beat this fighter and that fighter, that's where I just think I switch off. So I'm not really asked about the fight, but I hope Tommy Fury wins.
Dave, appreciate your time as always.